Terror takes flight. Here's your look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, the Merciless Wave, the Batman Who Laughs. Born from the nightmares of the dark multiverse, the Batman Who Laughs is a hybrid version of the Batman and the Joker from Earth -22. This twisted version of Batman was created when nanotoxins from the Joker's heart were released into Bruce Wayne's bloodstream, causing the Dark Knight's perfect mind to merge with the warped psyche of the Clown Prince of Crime. He soon became part of an attempt to plunge the entire multiverse into ultra-violence, chaos, and utter darkness. After being initially defeated, the Batman Who Laughs managed to survive and remains a threat to the greatest heroes of the multiverse. Continuing on where we've left off in the Merciless Wave, the next figure we're going to be having a look at is the Batman Who Laughs. Probably one of my most look forward to figure I feel from this entire line. Before we get a closer look at the figure though, I'm going to first figure out how tall the Batman Who Laughs stands by taking the tape measure of mine and taking it right to the very top of his head, right there. According to the readout, the Batman Who Laughs version 2 stands 7.2 inches in height. Switching that to centimeters, the figure stands 18.4, so almost 18.5 centimeters tall. Getting in some size comparisons, we can bring in the original Batman Who Laughs figure that we looked at, well, quite a while ago, actually. There's definitely an upgrade, I feel, not only in the sculpting, but also the paint application for the newer release that comes included with the Sky Tyrant wings, which we'll look at in a second. Also bring in some size comparisons. We can bring in the Batman, what we also had a look at. Gives me a little bit of difficulty getting in the stand, actually. And we can also bring in one of the Robins. Now, I'm sure I said this already when we brought the Robin in, comparing him with the Batman, but I feel like the Robin either is too tall or the Batman Who Laughs is too short. The sizing really is an issue when I feel like I'm comparing the two figures side to side. Well, not even so side to side. Let's move them side to side. There we go. Batman Who Laughs, I feel, should have been a taller figure. I don't know if I would say I would have wanted to see him as a collect and connect figure, because maybe he didn't warrant necessarily having all the figures to buy in order to build him. But I do feel at the end of the day, the Batman Who Laughs should have been a lot taller figure if you wanted to scale him appropriately with the three Robins. The Batman Who Laughs comes with a good bunch of accessories, though most of the accessories are going to be allocated for our continued build of the Merciless. He comes included with a couple of shoulder pads, for example. See right here. He also comes included with a helmeted head sculpt, and he comes with a sword that Merciless can wield. On the backs of the shoulder pads, not only does it say R and L, L and R, but he does also has the little ball joints there on the top. Now, I'm sure anybody would be looking at this and thinking, well, should you have maybe added the arms just yet? Wouldn't you have wanted to worry about the shoulder pads first? The answer to that question, let me just put these down for a second, reaching off to the black hole, bringing in, whoop, there is the Merciless that we've built so far. If you look at the top here, he's got pegs on either side of his fur trim. This is where the shoulder pads would go, and as you can clearly see then, it has no issue getting then the arms in first, because you're just basically going to put the shoulder pads. I would probably advise actually put the arms in first, then put the shoulder pads in, just because then you're not going to have to work around them. But here's the Merciless that we've got so far. I mean, like I said, it's just arms and a torso. This one arm is really giving me some difficulty. I feel like the joint is super tight. When I've tried to twist this, a lot of times the arm just pops off. But for the time being, it still seems to be staying in the socket. Let's hope that's a continued trend. But we're going to go ahead, making sure, of course, we grab the right side. Going to take the ball joint. And you sort of have to just kind of twist it in. One good thing about it is this is a softer plastic than this was. This was definitely a harder plastic to have to contend with. But the shoulder pads are super easy to put into place. The exact same on the other side. Even though, it's misleading really when you look at it. You look at it and think, oh my god, that's going to be a nuisance of a ball joint to deal with. But not quite the contrary, actually. It fits very easily into the fur, just like that. And there's the shoulder pads in place. Now we can do the exact same thing, somewhat differently, with a different part of the body. This is the head sculpt that comes included with the Batman Who Laughs. I really like the design of this one quite a bit. Again, that carryover color of that metallic blue. Boy, does that ever look sharp. Not literally sharp. These side fins, for example, these bat crownings on the sides of his helmet, for example, aren't super sharp. They're slightly softer plastic, so I think they're less susceptible to breaking. But it does have some really nice detailing on the front, specifically in the eyes. Now, I've seen some people really go into these figures and add on some much needed paint. Some darker washes I would think really would enhance the overall experience of these. But I think even just bare bones, the way that you get these figures out of the packaging, are still pretty good. They could use, yes, a little bit more paint, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we look at the Batman Who Laughs, but it definitely doesn't, there isn't, I think, a lot left on the table when it comes to these paint applications. By the way, in case you're curious, there's sort of a little bit of light piping on the back of the helmet. You can see right there. So if you illuminate it, I guess it would be somewhat difficult to illuminate, really, because the head would, of course, be on top of the ball joint. But we're going to go ahead and just pop that into place. A little bit of pressure will do you good. And this is what we've got so far for Merciless. Oh, one other thing is, of course, we can also include, he comes also with the sword. The sword seems to be just molded gold plastic. Doesn't look like they've added any additional washing over top of it. But we can go ahead, not drop it on the floor, mind you, but we can go ahead and just take that and put it into his arm. Actually, you know what? We'll put it on this side. We'll put it on this side, and then we'll go back and fix up his head. Just swivel that into his hand, his grip like that. There we go. And let's go back and grab the head sculpt, which I'm definitely going to have to probably heat up a little bit. There we go. There we go. For the time being, we're good to go. So still we have to get ourselves some legs going on there, and I would imagine that the legs are probably going to come include with some feet, and then after that we've got ourselves a finished, completed, good to go, ready to send on its way, Merciless. Moving that to the side, let's have a look at the accessories that come included. One thing I did leave off, and it was simply just for space confinements, is he does also come with the Sky Tyrant wings, which I so happen to have here over on the side. The Batman Who Laughs comes with, of course, a pair of these. That's how you can fly properly. Get him straightened around the correct way. There we go. He comes with a couple of wings. Whoops. He comes with a couple of wings. There we go. The wings themselves, as you can see, are a darker use of plastic, but then they've gone in there and dry brushed over top of it a lighter color. It does have some poseability, so you can hinge this back and forth. Kind of smart the way that they've done this here. They've hidden the area where this is attached over top of it. So there's the socket joint, but they kind of have hidden it in such a way that it blends in with the rest of the feathers. But like I said, this does hinge, so you can move these back and forth. And like I said, he does have two of these. I have to wonder if maybe we're going to be seeing these wings, or have already seen these wings from other McFarlane releases. I would think it would be an ideal wing to use for a Redeemer. Maybe we may eventually see these. But to attach them to the back of the Batman Who Laughs, we're going to spin the figure around. And on the back, I mean, they basically have outlined the area in which the wings are going to go attached to. You can see these nice copper openings right here. Now, this is strapped, of course, to his body. To take the wings, all you're going to have to do is just take this and fit it in place. Now, I thought this was going to be a lot bigger of a hassle than what it actually was. Plugging it in place, the wings fit in perfectly fine. And also, if you do decide you want to change these out and maybe not necessarily have the Batman Who Laughs with the wings, by all means, you can just go in there and pop them out. Super easy to plug in, super easy to remove as well. So you have the option available. But we're going to go ahead and just wiggle these in place. Do the exact same thing on the other side. There we go. And then we can just hinge that across. Making sure, of course, when you are hinging it, you're hinging it with the proper direction of the hinge. See the little slot right there? The two halves give you, obviously, the hinge. You want to make sure that you've got that going the right way. If not, you're going to be bending against it, and you're going to be forcing it, and you're going to be breaking it, and you're going to be crying. Probably in that order as well. But it does give you certainly a good substantial wingspan. I mean, really, when you look at it, the wings are about the same length as the Batman Who Laughs. And again, you can fold these down if you want to. Fold these down, and you can kind of tuck them up if you don't want to have the wings completely out. That is super cool. I know while doing all of this, the one accessory I tend to look at the beginning of these reviews and completely left right out. He does also come included with the trading card, the Batman Who Laughs with Sky Tyrant wings. On the back, gives you your stats. Source is Hawkman number 18, comics from 2019. Real name is Bruce Wayne. Height, 6'2", and weight is a little leaner than your regular Batman, who was 210 pounds. The Batman Who Laughs is 190 pounds instead. To go along with that, the Batman Who Laughs also comes included with a display stand. Kind of strange that McFarlane Toys didn't include along with this a flight display stand, because after all, we've gotten it with Superman's. You would think a character that would have wings would also have the necessary means to actually have him in flight. And yet, unfortunately, in this case, he only comes included with the display stand. That's a bit disappointing. What certainly isn't disappointing, though, is the sculpting here on the Batman Who Laughs. This is now marking the second time that we've gotten ourselves a Batman Who Laughs, so we can move this one over and we can bring in, again, the original release. One thing they definitely have improved upon, if you ask me, is the head sculpt. The screaming head on the newer release, I think, is far superior to the one that we had gotten before. Now, I have not actually done this, heated this up, but looking at the way that the head is attached in place, this is probably a question I'm sure many of you guys will be asking. Can the heads be swapped? Well, I'm looking at the peg. The peg is attached right here, and of course attaches to the top of the neck. It seems like it's the exact same peg on both the heads. This one works the exact same way. So I think if you wanted to, you could remove this head here that I'm tapping right now with my finger. You can switch it out with this body right here if you want to go and swap the looks out. I'm content, I think, for the time being of just displaying him with this particular body because I think it works better. I mean, it's just a better looking sculpted figure. But I would be definitely open to the idea of maybe picking up another one of these so I can use this head sculpt with that original Multiverse Batman Who Laughs. Nothing really was wrong with the figure at the time, but now comparing it to this one, I think it's a much better looking head sculpt that we get with this release. It does have some nice decent coloring done to the teeth, to the tongue, and to the lip area. Again, I've seen some real talented artists go in here and paint these up, adding some real grime and additional like slime and stuff to the bodies of these. Adding some dark discoloration to the body really does enhance these. And I will say, like when you're looking at the two, comparing the original stock one that we're looking at here, and some of the ones that the artists have painted up online, like Instagram and Twitter, there is a considerable difference between the two. But I do think that the paint job straight out of the box is good. Short of me actually going in there and customizing any bit on top of the figure, I think just bare bones, it's a good looking head sculpt for the Batman Who Laughs. Again, he's got the spikes all the way around the front of his face, really all the way around the entire spectrum, the entire area of his head sculpt here. He's got some additional stitching there on the back of his cowl. That's really nice little touches there. It's a really great looking head sculpt. And of course, coupled with that, you've got a great looking body to go along with it. A slightly different type of shoulder, again, bringing in the one that we got before. Very different to the one that we initially had gotten, whereas this one mimics that more of a Cenobite design, I feel. This one is a little bit of a different departure, yet still has the straps you can see on not only the torso, but also on the shoulders, but he has a much broader looking shoulder, broader torso than the one that we gotten right here. It's not even really until you compare the two that you see like this one gets benefited so much more additional detailing that the original Batman Who Laughs just didn't have as much of, just relying more on just the sculpting of the plastic. We'll go ahead and move that out of the way. Most of it obviously is just straight black. Then, of course, you've got your Tyrant wings that are adding the additional much-needed gray. But a lot of that is just black on black. So it does help to break it up a little bit. Of course, the white in his face, the white in his hands, and the additional copper color that he's got in his lower area of his torso, as well as this additional crimson stone that's in the middle. Of course, this is the part that's strapping the wings to his torso. All come together just giving a little bit of extra much needed color that I feel the figure didn't really have in the first place. Scrolling a little bit further down on the figure, you've got some real nice tattered rags making up the lower half of his jacket that he wears. Love the additional coloring, well, the additional sculpting, I should say. Coloring definitely is not one thing that this has. It lacks a whole lot of it. Could they probably have added some coloring? Yes, they probably could have, just to give something going on here, because it's so much molded black plastic. But I will say, to the credit of McFarlane Toys, the rips, the holes, and the tears that they've added to the plastic, this soft, pliable plastic, does give you just a really interesting look. I can't help but also notice this one little rip at the bottom corner of his jacket kind of looks like a bat emblem. Maybe I'm the only one that's seeing that. But spin around to the front of the figure again. He's very lanky, very skinny build figure, similar to the one that we had gotten before, with very similar designed boots as well. Unfortunately, like, if you compare, last time I'll do this, I promise, if you compare the two boots side to side, one thing, unfortunately, that the newer one lacks in, that the original did have, is that the little buckle on the side is painted in silver. Not really sure why they've left that off on the newer release. I mean, it's there. They've done it before, so they've already teased us the fact that they're capable of painting that in. And yet, unfortunately, on this release of The Batman Who Laughs, that little buckle located on the side of his boot gets completely omitted of paint. Let's go through the posability now on The Batman Who Laughs. His head rotates all the way around. Ouchie, ouch, ouch, ouch. Of course, he's got the spikes. Don't worry, they're not super sharp, but you do notice them, of course, when you put your fingers against them. The head rotates back and forth. It hinges up. It hinges down. You can rock it also back and forth this way as well. We already looked at his wings, but we'll look at those again. The Tyrant wings do have swivels, so you can rotate those back and forth this way. There's a hinge joint, of course, making sure you've got the hinge going the right way, and also making sure that the peg isn't all the way. There we go. The hinge joint allows the wings to fold back like this. And, of course, you can also fan them out this way as well. So I guess if you want a really crazy-looking pose of having the wings far stretched like this, you can pull that off if you want to. Let's just fold this up for the time being. Be a little bit more modest with his posing for the time being. As for his arms move forward and back. They are, yes, restricted, sadly, by the fact he's got this molded plastic for his shoulder area. It does limit what you can do moving the arm forward and back, but it doesn't limit what you can do bringing the arms out this way, because, of course, it leaves a whole open area for him to work with. He does have a swivel at the top of the bicep, right there. Double hinge on the elbow. Love the sculpting of those hands also as well. The hands rotate all the way around. You can also hinge those back and forth. Now, his torso is really different. Very interesting. The original one also had this as well. If you put your finger and squeeze against it, you can see how this all indents itself. This is all like soft plastic. It seems when I do move this guy, he's got like a little crackety torso articulation. I really don't like doing that because sight unseen, I don't know whereabouts I can actually bend that joint. The last thing I want to do is really bend it in a place that's not intended to be bent, and then before I know it, I'm breaking something underneath this layer of soft plastic I simply just can't get access to. So I will say that he does seem to have articulation in the waist. He does seem to have possibly something going on behind the scenes here, but I really don't want to start messing around with it. The legs split out. In addition to that, you of course can move them forward and back. He has a swivel on the top of the thigh, double hinge on the knee. And then when it comes to his boots sadly are all molded plastic. So this part is basically attached to the top half, or the top half of his calf, which of course attaches then to the knee. But he does have at least articulation in the boot. You can move those back and forth, hinge them up and down, and you can technically rotate them all the way around. And yes, he does also have toe articulation as well. Toe articulation. I do appreciate also the fact of, yet much like all the other DC Multiverse figures, he does have pegals on the undersides of his feet. So yeah, make use of that display stand, especially for the fact that you consider that this character is going to have some additional back weight of his wings. You know what, let's just go ahead and grab that display stand right now. The fact that he does have the additional weight on his wings will cause the figure to be a little bit more top heavy. Go ahead and just plug his foot into place. Guarantee, hopefully, that he's not going to topple over. Certainly for the end of this review, and when we get into final looks at the figure, which I might just spoil a little bit by telling you in advance, I'm really digging the design of the Batman Who Laughs here, with, of course, the Sky Tyrant wings. The only thing I would have said, still going back to a point I mentioned earlier in this review, had this guy been a collect and connect, build a figure, whatever you would want to call putting several figure pieces together to build a big giant version, I feel he may have worked better being a collect and connect figure than he was just a standalone figure. Because again, when you stack him up with some of the Robin minions that he's supposed to have with him, you can really see either the Robins are way too tall, or Batman Who Laughs here is way too short. The Batman Who Laughs with his tyrant wings looks awfully sick when you put it on display. No, I don't mean that he needs medical attention. He looks awesome to put on display, and a lot of the contributing factor to that is the fact he does come included with these posable wings, which I'm sure McFarlane Toys has some tricks up his sleeve and little surprises on his end. I'm sure those wings are going to be eventually used for Redeemer, because I think he has hinted that we're going to be getting ourselves a Redeemer as part of his new relaunch of the Spawn figure line. I'm very excited for that. So I'm sure, marking it down now on the calendar that I did say this, I'm pretty sure these wings, if they haven't already, will be making a reappearance for a future Redeemer. As for, of course, Batman Who Laughs, it's a much needed upgrade to the one that we had gotten before. As a result of it, unfortunately, the original Batman Who Laughs sort of does seem a bit dated now, not only in the sculpting of his head, but the rest of his body. the tattered nature of the costume on this Batman Who Laughs, although with an additional superior head sculpt, I think makes this one the better of the two, whether you decide to display him with the wings or without the wings. Still, again, a problem with this figure is just simply his height. Maybe one of the biggest solutions to the problem would have been simply to have those Robin minions slightly smaller. Because at the height that they're giving right now, the height of these figures, we're going to be looking at another Robin figure, a Walmart exclusive. All the Robins he seems to be sculpting are way too tall, in my personal opinion. If you stack them up with characters that really do belong with those Robins, you do end up finding those taller figures don't seem as tall anymore. They really should have made those Robins a little bit smaller, or as an advice, a little bit that I suggested in this review, is that this guy should have really been a Build-A-Figure in the first place. Still give us the Build-A-Figure Collect and Connect Merciless, but also give us a Collect and Connect version of the Batman Who Laughs with his Tyrant wings. I think that would have been a fantastic solution to the problem. If you don't mind for the fact that Batman Who Laughs is about it's not that much taller, really, than the Robins. He's a great accompanying piece to the Robin minions that we've already had a look at earlier on this channel. What do you guys think of the Batman Who Laughs with the Tyrant wings? I feel, again, a vast improvement for the one that we had gotten before, but let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of it. Also, if you're new to this channel and you're liking all the content you're seeing, make sure you're sticking to this channel by hitting the subscribe button down below, turning the bell notification, and make sure, of course, you're coming back to this channel on a regular daily basis. Because even though we're wrapping up videos for today, tomorrow, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every other day after that, we're going to have regular videos popping up on this channel. So always keep your peepers peeled. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.